Hello and welcome to Pichael's Picks, Draftkings Esports. It's the 22nd of February. There's an LPL slate. There's an NA Academy slate tomorrow. Figured I'd get both of them out of the way so you have a little bit of time in advance to make your own lineups. So let's just get straight into it. VG versus Top Sports. These are the two worst teams in the LPL, probably. I mean, strength of schedule might have something to say about that because they are playing against different teams in different divisions and everything, but I think for the most part they're two of the worst teams in China at best. So even before looking at the players, before looking at the matchups, it makes sense to take the underdog because they're both 0-7. They're both in 7th place. What's the justification for having Top Sports cost more money than Vici Gaming? So then lane by lane, ton of top laners, ton of players. Who knows who's going to be playing? A lot of the time it's difficult to pick these kinds of teams because there are so many different options that they have, and it can screw you over if one of them doesn't play. So you really need to be careful when you're taking these kinds of players. So here we have Vici Gaming's jungler's Crash. He's from the LCK. He was a good player. I'm not sure who these two players are. I don't watch a ton of LPL, but I just know that Crash is pretty good, and they're both 0-7. So that's what I'm going off of, really. Mid lane, we have Easy Hoon versus not Easy Hoon. So I think Gung was from... that name seems familiar too. But Easy Hoon, I would probably take Easy Hoon over either of those guys just because he costs less and I know who that is. AD carry, Kui versus Martin. Still don't know anybody. Caveman. I think Caveman, he was on a pretty good team at one point. Wasn't he? I think I recognize that name too. So yeah, if I was playing this slate, I don't know if I'm going to play this slate because it's a 2-game slate. But if I were, I would probably take Vici Gaming, which means in the other matchup, we have Invictus Gaming versus OMG. OMG is very bad. They're worse than their record, I think. They're like a legacy team. They have some players who you probably know of, but they're just not good right now, and they're not as good as Invictus Gaming, who's arguably the best team in China right now. So that works out pretty well because you're taking the underdog from the first matchup and the favorite from the second matchup. So again, you have to be careful about who's actually playing. Make sure that you take the players who have played in every single game this season. So Ning, I would take Ning. I would take Rookie. I would take Jackie Love. And I would take Baolan. I think any of those players are good. Depends on how many you can fit into your lineups. So for this, I think the most popular lineup construction is going to be players from Invictus with players from VG Gaming. If there's an upset, then maybe this isn't the best lineup, but if I was going to play anything on this slate, I would use this kind of lineup with Vici and Invictus and just mix and match players until I get something that I feel good about. And like the more unique, the better. But at the same time, if I have to split money with people because it's an easy slate, then I would just rather do that than try to be thinking too deeply about this. And then Friday, there's the NA Academy slate. These are weird slates to play. I mean, that's really all I have to say about that. Most people don't watch these, so you're kind of guessing. But CLG versus CG Academy, you can see they're both at the bottom of the table. So then it kind of comes down to name recognition and stuff like that, and the prices. So I'm not sure how they can really justify this price. It's probably a much closer game than that. Vulcan versus Phil, Piglet versus Auto, Sun versus Tuesday. I've actually talked to Tuesday before. He's a good guy. Moon versus Omar God, Max Trobo versus Fallen Bandit. I think that I would probably be comfortable taking CLG in this matchup. Omar God's a good player. I mean, he's not a great player, but he's good enough. He's better than Moon. Vulcan versus Phil, Piglet versus Auto. So Piglet, maybe you think Piglet is still a good player. I don't think Piglet's been a good player for a long time. Yeah, CLG, I'd feel comfortable taking them. TSM versus Fox Academy. So you have TSM and Fox Academy. They're right next to each other. Should be pretty close. Alarim versus Brandini. Odd Orange versus Grig. Demonte versus Blaze Olive. Lost versus Mr. Rallas. Papa Chow versus Shady. I think these rosters are pretty close. So pick one of them, whichever one you think is going to be less owned. TSM Academy is probably more popular than Fox Academy. So maybe there is some added value in the ownership of Echo Fox Academy. And like I've said in the past, I think Odd Orange is a really good player. I think that he can perform really well in the Academy series, and he's a jungler to watch out for in the future. Team Liquid Academy versus FlyQuest Academy. Team Liquid Academy is one of the better teams. FlyQuest Academy is also one of the better teams. Viper versus Ngo? No, I'm not sure what that guy's name is. Hard versus Shrimp or Onda. I think it's going to be Shrimp. Onda's been playing on the main team. Shrimp's a good player. I like his style. This is a very close matchup, by the way. Mickey versus Keen. I think that they're both very good mid laners. That's a tough matchup actually to project. I think they both have the chance to stomp and win the entire game for their team. Shoryu versus Eri. Eri played really well last week, I think. But like don't pay too much attention to fantasy points per game, because that depends on if their team is winning games or not. There's a huge correlation between winning games and fantasy points. And then Joey versus JJ or Stunt. I'm not sure which support is going to be playing when they had that huge contest. I picked the wrong one because they switched them around. It's pretty annoying. I think that FlyQuest Academy should probably be the favorite. I'm not sure why they're not the favorite in this scenario. That doesn't make much sense to me. So you're getting value out of FlyQuest Academy. They are the higher team in the rankings. Although last week we saw in the EULCS, the first place team was playing against G2, and G2 won because most people kind of understood that G2 is just, they have a higher ceiling. But I'm not sure if the same can be said for Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. Shrimp's a good player, probably better than Hard. Keen to Mickey are very similar. Eri versus Shoryu, I don't know enough about those two. And then here we have Stunt or JJ. I'm not sure which one they're going to use, but there's not a big difference there. So there's not a big difference in top lane. I think Shrimp's better. Not a big difference, not a big difference, not a big difference. So I would just go with the better jungler. And this is going to be on patch 8.3, I think. So there is still a lot of value in picking the better jungler. C9 Academy versus 100 Thieves. C9 Academy is in second, 100 Thieves is in sixth. C9 should win this matchup. It's one of the bigger favorites. So if you can find value that you like, it's good to take C9. Shiro versus Kaizen, Wiggly versus Levi, Golden Glue versus Insanity, Keith versus Rikara, and Zazel versus Wyan. So I'd be interested to see how good 100 Thieves can play for the rest of the season now that they have Levi. I think Levi's an upgrade from what they had. So I think C9 Academy is definitely the team with a higher % chance to win. You're going to get a lot of fantasy value out of them if they do win. Golden Glue and Keith, I like that pairing. So I wouldn't overthink this one too much. I think C9 Academy just wins, and you'll probably get good value out of those players. Last matchup, Optic Academy versus Golden Guardians Academy. Golden Guardians is in last place, unlucky, against Optic, 4-6. Dokla versus Jenkins. Like I've said in the past, I think Jenkins is a good player. I just don't think that his team is utilizing him correctly. Cadier versus Potluck. Palafox versus Bobkin. Andy versus Jurassic. Winter versus Special. So because of the way that the slate broke down, I don't think I'm going to be using Golden Guardians players. I also don't think I'd be using Optic players just because this isn't a clear enough matchup where I feel confident that one of the teams is much better than the other one. I think CLG is a good underdog to pick players from. TSM is a good underdog to pick players from. FlyQuest is a good underdog to pick players from. C9 is the biggest favorite on the day. And then this game is kind of a toss-up in the air, so it's probably going to have low ownership. So if you want low ownership, I would go with Golden Guardians or Optic potentially, just to differentiate your lineups from other people. But this is how I see the slate going in terms of value underdogs. If one of these games explodes, I think it would be TSM versus Fox. I think that has the potential to be the biggest game of the day, and so does C9 versus 100. I think these two matchups are the ones where the most fantasy points are going to come from. I could see TL versus Fly too. So maybe keep your choices between here somewhere and you'll be good. And if you want differentiated ownership, and lineups, then you can go for CLG versus Clutch Gaming or Golden Guardians versus Optic. So I think that is a good first pass through DraftKings. I hope the information helps you out in your lineups. I'm probably not playing in the LPL tonight, but maybe I'll throw out some lineups for the academy scene. Because I like 5-game slates. So, I mean, if I'm going to criticize for DraftKings and not play on their 2-game slates, I should probably play on their 4 and 5-game slates just to make sure they keep putting them out there. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments section what you think about my picks and who you like tonight.